The mind is like a garden. What you allow to grow will shape your life. Imagine planting weeds instead of flowers, letting negativity and bad habits quietly take root. Before you know it, your garden is overrun and you're left wondering how it got there. But what if 2025 could be the year you take back your peace? What if it's the year you learn to let go of the thoughts, habits, and relationships that quietly weigh you down? That's what we're going to explore together today. 11 things you should quietly eliminate from your life. These are small shifts that can have a massive impact, freeing you from mental clutter, emotional stress, and wasted energy. Whether it's letting go of comparison, overcoming perfectionism, or learning to silence your anger, these lessons will help you cultivate a mind that is calm, focused, and resilient. This isn't about overnight change. It's about making steady, intentional progress. The Stoics believed that mastery of the mind comes from daily practice, small decisions, and the courage to let go of what no longer serves us. So, if you're ready to lighten your load, clear your mind, and build a life of purpose and clarity, you're in the right place. Let's dive into these 11 things you need to quietly eliminate, one step at a time. Your future self will look back and be grateful you started today. Number 1. Explaining yourself to those who cause you pain. Have you ever found yourself replaying a conversation in your head, trying to figure out how you could have explained yourself better to someone who hurt you? Maybe you felt misunderstood, unfairly judged, or even blamed for something that wasn't your fault. It's natural to want others to see your side, to understand your pain, or to validate your feelings. But here's the hard truth. Some people will never hear you, no matter how much you explain. Stoic philosophy reminds us that seeking external validation, especially from those who cause us harm, only traps us in a cycle of frustration and disappointment. Why? Because their understanding, or lack of it, is completely outside your control. The great Stoic Epictetus taught that we should focus only on what is within our power, our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. Everything else, including how others perceive or treat us, is beyond our reach. So when you find yourself trying to justify your actions or your pain to someone who has already shown they aren't listening, you are giving them a piece of your peace. You're handing over control of your emotional well-being. And for what? A hope that they'll change their mind or offer you the validation you think you need. But the truth is, their inability to understand you says more about them than it does about you. Stoicism teaches us to let go of this need to be understood by others, especially those who bring us pain. Instead of seeking their approval, we should turn inward and focus on our own integrity. Ask yourself, am I acting in line with my values? Am I being true to myself? If the answer is yes, then that's all the validation you need. You don't owe explanations to people who hurt you. They have already shown you that their perspective is flawed and their judgment does not define your worth. By freeing yourself from this need to justify or explain, you reclaim your energy and focus. Imagine what you could achieve if you stopped giving so much power to people who don't deserve it. Instead of ruminating over what you could have said, use that time to heal, to grow, and to reflect on what truly matters, your peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius, another great Stoic philosopher, reminded us, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control." And you can apply this same principle here. There's no need to waste your emotional energy explaining yourself to those who have already caused you harm. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings or pretend that you're not hurt. It's okay to feel pain, anger, or disappointment. But instead of directing those emotions toward someone who cannot or will not listen, direct that energy toward yourself, toward healing, understanding, and moving forward. Let your actions speak for themselves. Let your growth and your peace be the ultimate response. The quieter you are, the louder your strength becomes. Number 2, oversharing the end of relationships. When a relationship ends, it's often followed by a storm of emotions, confusion, sadness, anger, or even relief. In that emotional whirlwind, there's a strong urge to talk about it with anyone who will listen. Maybe it's to process the pain, seek comfort, or tell your side of the story. But have you ever noticed that the more you talk about it, the more it lingers? The pain stays alive, the resentment grows stronger, and instead of moving forward, you remain stuck in the past. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't always control the way things end, we can control how we respond. And sometimes the best response is silence. The Stoics believed in the power of restraint, especially when it comes to words. Words have weight. Once spoken, they can't be taken back. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and renowned Stoic, once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." When you share every intimate detail of a relationship's end, you're not just giving away your privacy, you're also exposing your emotions to others who may not handle them with care. What starts as venting can quickly turn into gossip or judgment. The dignity of what you once shared with another person gets chipped away, and in the end, no one wins. There's also another danger to oversharing. It keeps you tethered to the past. By rehashing old arguments, blaming the other person, or analyzing every little detail, you give the situation more power over you than it deserves. Stoicism reminds us that we must focus on what lies within our control, our thoughts, actions, and mindset, not on events that are behind us. A relationship ending is part of life's natural flow, and like all experiences, it holds lessons that help us grow. But you can only learn those lessons when you stop looking backward and start looking inward. Silence doesn't mean denial or avoidance. It means choosing to handle the situation with strength and maturity. It means keeping certain things sacred, even if the relationship is over. By choosing not to overshare, you're not protecting just your own peace. You're also respecting the other person, regardless of how things ended. After all, who they are and how they treated you no longer matter. What matters now is how you respond. The Stoics would remind us that our character is revealed in moments like these. Will we let our emotions control us, or will we act with integrity and wisdom? Think about it this way. Every time you share private details of the past with others, you're giving away little pieces of your dignity. The less you speak about it, the more you hold on to your power. You don't need others to validate your pain or side with you. Your growth and resilience will speak louder than any words could. Over time, you'll realize that holding back, choosing not to dwell, not to gossip, and not to explain, feels lighter. It clears space for healing. It allows you to move forward without the weight of the past dragging you down. Number 3, unnecessary goals. How often do we chase things without stopping to ask why? A bigger house, a nicer car, a promotion, or even superficial achievements that don't align with who we truly are. Society pushes us to believe that success is about more possessions, more titles, more recognition. But at what cost? You climb a ladder only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. The Stoics warned us about this trap. They believed that a meaningful life isn't about pursuing everything, but about pursuing the right things, the things that add genuine value to our lives and align with our principles. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reflected often on the brevity of life. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Time is our most precious resource. Every moment we spend chasing unnecessary goals, things that don't fulfill us, things that we pursue simply to keep up with others, is time we can never get back. Picture your life as a finite canvas. You only have so much space to fill, so many brush strokes to create a masterpiece. Now ask yourself, are you painting something meaningful, or are you just throwing random colors on the canvas because someone else told you to? Many of us pursue goals mindlessly, without questioning where they came from. We let societal expectations, family pressures, or the fear of falling behind drive our decisions. But here's the truth. Not every goal is worth pursuing. The Stoics remind us to focus on what is essential. Epictetus put it bluntly, "If you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters." In other words, let go of the need to be everything to everyone. Let go of goals that look good on the outside, but feel hollow on the inside. Instead, redirect your focus to what truly matters. Goals that reflect your values, strengthen your character, and contribute to a life of purpose. The danger of unnecessary goals is that they distract you from your true path. They fill your days with busyness, but leave you feeling empty. Have you ever worked tirelessly toward something, perhaps a job title or material possession, only to achieve it and wonder, is this it? That feeling isn't failure. It's a sign you were chasing the wrong thing. The Stoics encourage us to pause and reflect often. Am I living intentionally? Are my actions aligned with my values? If not, it's time to eliminate the distractions and refocus. This doesn't mean you should abandon ambition. Ambition, when directed wisely, can lead to incredible growth and achievement. But the Stoics remind us that ambition must be rooted in what's meaningful and true, not in superficial desires. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Don't waste the rest of your time here worrying about other people, unless it affects the common good. It will keep you from doing anything useful." What's useful then? It's the goals that align with who you are and what you believe in. Goals that strengthen your virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. Goals that serve not just yourself, but others around you. Number 4. Raising your voice in anger. We've all been there, moments when frustration boils over, and before we know it, we're raising our voice. Maybe it's during an argument with someone you care about, or in a moment of stress when nothing seems to go right. The words come out louder, sharper, and more forceful than you intended. But what happens next? The situation usually gets worse. The person on the receiving end becomes defensive. You feel your own anger intensify, and what started as a chance to resolve something turns into a full-blown conflict. The Stoics understood this well. Anger, when unleashed without control, harms us far more than it helps us. Marcus Aurelius once said, "How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" Think about that. Most of the time, what made you angry in the first place is minor compared to the damage that comes from your reaction: strained relationships, regretful words, and a lingering sense of shame. Anger doesn't just hurt others. It poisons you. It clouds your judgment, steals your peace, and leaves you carrying emotional weight long after the moment has passed. It's like setting yourself on fire in an attempt to light up a dark room. It does far more harm than good. The Stoics believed that true strength lies in self-control. Anyone can lash out in anger, but it takes wisdom and discipline to pause, breathe, and choose a better response. Epictetus taught that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. He said, "It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them." When you raise your voice in anger, you're letting your emotions take control. You're reacting without thinking, without choosing the response that aligns with the kind of person you want to be. Seneca warned against anger as the most destructive of emotions. He called it temporary madness because it makes us act irrationally, saying and doing things we would never do in a calmer state. And yet, so many of us fall into its trap, convincing ourselves that shouting or venting our rage will make us feel better. But does it? Think about the last time you lost control and raised your voice. Did it solve the problem, or did it leave you feeling drained, guilty, and misunderstood? This doesn't mean you shouldn't feel anger. Anger, like all emotions, is natural. It signals that something feels wrong, that a boundary has been crossed, or that you're hurt. But the key is to acknowledge the anger without letting it dictate your actions. Instead of raising your voice, take a step back, literally, if you need to. Pause, breathe deeply. Give yourself a moment to regain control. The Stoics often practiced a simple exercise in moments of frustration. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week, a month, a year? More often than not, the answer is no. That pause gives you perspective, and with perspective comes calm. Imagine how powerful it feels to be the one who stays calm when everyone else is losing their heads. That's strength, that's control, and it's exactly what Stoicism encourages us to practice. When you keep your voice steady and your emotions in check, you don't just de-escalate the situation, you also earn the respect of others. People listen to calm voices, they tune out yelling. By choosing composure over anger, you're not being weak. You're showing that you're strong enough to master yourself. Number 5. Constantly comparing yourself to others. Have you ever scrolled through social media or looked around at friends, colleagues, or even strangers and thought to yourself, why am I not there yet? It could be their success, their lifestyle, their achievements, or the way they seem to effortlessly have it all together. Before you know it, your mind starts racing. What's wrong with me? Why am I not as good, as successful, or as happy as they are? This comparison becomes a quiet, insidious thief. It steals your joy, your confidence, and your ability to appreciate your own life. Stoicism offers us a powerful antidote to this toxic habit: the realization that your only competition is yourself. The Stoics believed that each person's life is their own unique path, shaped by circumstances, choices, and experiences that no one else shares. Comparing your journey to someone else's is not only unfair, it's also illogical. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. It will keep you from doing anything useful." This is the core truth. When you focus on others, you rob yourself of the energy and time to focus on what you can control: your own growth, your own actions, and your own progress. Comparison is rooted in perception, and perception is often flawed. Social media, for example, is a highlight reel. It shows the best moments of someone's life, carefully curated to create an image of success or happiness. You might see someone's new house, perfect vacation, or career milestone, but what you don't see are the struggles, the sacrifices, and the moments of doubt behind the scenes. Comparing yourself to someone else's outward appearance of success is like comparing your full, unfiltered life to their edited snapshots. You're not seeing the whole picture. Epictetus reminds us that we should focus only on what lies within our control. He said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Other people's lives, achievements, and opinions? Completely outside your control. What is within your control is how you choose to live your life. Are you improving yourself each day? Are you living in line with your values? Are you showing up as the best version of yourself? These are the questions that matter. The truth is, comparison blinds you to your own strengths and progress. While you're looking outward, you miss everything you've already achieved, everything that makes your path unique and valuable. Imagine climbing a mountain but constantly turning your head to look at someone else's path. You lose sight of your own footing, your own direction, and the incredible progress you've already made. The Stoics teach us to keep our eyes on our own path and to find satisfaction in our efforts, not in how we measure up to someone else. It's also important to remember that everyone's timeline is different. Someone might reach a particular milestone earlier than you, but that doesn't diminish your path or your potential. Life isn't a race. It's a process of growth, learning, and discovery. By comparing yourself to others, you're measuring success by their standards, not your own. The Stoics would encourage you to define your own version of success, one rooted in your values, your progress, and your sense of purpose. That's where true fulfillment comes from. Number 6. Mindless use of social media. Have you ever picked up your phone just to check one notification and suddenly an hour has disappeared? You don't even remember what you were looking at: videos, posts, random updates, and yet somehow you feel drained. Not refreshed, not inspired, but empty. It's almost like time slipped through your fingers without you realizing it. This isn't just a modern problem. It's a reflection of a deeper truth about how we let distractions rule our lives. The Stoics would call this a misuse of our attention, one of the most valuable resources we possess. The ancient Stoics believed that our attention and focus were essential to living a meaningful life. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the importance of being fully present, writing, "Do not let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." Yet today, our attention is constantly under siege, pulled in 1,000 directions by algorithms, notifications, and endless scrolling. Social media, when used mindlessly, becomes a thief of time, clarity, and peace. It scatters your focus and leaves you with nothing to show for the hours you've lost. The issue isn't social media itself. Like any tool, it can be used for good or harm. It connects us to loved ones, exposes us to new ideas, and can even inspire growth. The problem lies in how we use it, or rather, how it uses us. How often do we scroll without intention, numbing ourselves to reality, using our feeds as a form of distraction? The Stoics taught that we must be intentional with our time, because time is finite. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." And social media, when used without purpose, is one of the greatest culprits of wasted time in our modern world. But there's more to it than just losing time. Mindless use of social media affects how we think, how we feel, and how we see ourselves. The curated feeds we scroll through present a distorted version of reality: perfect vacations, flawless bodies, overnight success stories. We start to compare our lives to this illusion, and without realizing it, feelings of inadequacy creep in. Suddenly, our own lives don't feel good enough. Our homes, careers, relationships all seem to fall short in comparison to a highlight reel that isn't even real. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what we can control: our own thoughts, our actions, and our perspective. Comparing ourselves to an illusion is a battle we can never win, and it robs us of our contentment in the present moment. What's the solution? Try this. Set limits on your social media use. Decide how much time you want to spend online each day and stick to it. Use your feeds intentionally. Follow people who inspire you. Unfollow accounts that make you feel less than, and engage with content that brings value to your life. Social media can be a tool for good, but only if you use it on your terms. Marcus Aurelius said, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." In other words, Don't let your life pass you by while you're staring at a screen. Be present, be intentional, spend your time on things that matter. Number 7. The pursuit of external validation. Have you ever noticed how much we crave approval from others? A simple compliment, a nod of recognition, or a few likes on social media can make us feel seen, valued, and appreciated. On the surface, it seems harmless. But beneath that craving for validation lies a dangerous habit, tying our self-worth to the opinions of others. When we let other people's approval, or lack of it, define our value, we hand over control of our happiness. The Stoics warned us about this trap. They believed that true peace and contentment come from within, not from the unpredictable opinions of the outside world. Epictetus put it simply: if you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. If you need a witness, be your own. What does that mean? It means you don't need someone else to tell you that you're good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough. Your actions, your choices, and your values should speak for themselves. Seeking external validation is like chasing a moving target. You'll never hit it because people's opinions change, often for reasons that have nothing to do with you. Today they praise you. Tomorrow they might criticize you. If your self-esteem depends on their approval, you're at the mercy of forces you can't control. Imagine living your entire life trying to please others. You wear what they think looks good, say what they want to hear, and make decisions based on their expectations. At first, it feels reassuring to fit in, to be liked. But over time, something starts to happen. You lose yourself. You stop asking, what do I want? What do I believe in? Who do I want to be? The Stoics remind us that living for external approval is a recipe for emptiness. You end up living someone else's life, not your own. And at the end of it, what have you gained? The approval of others at the cost of your own authenticity. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminded himself to focus inward, not outward. He wrote, "It doesn't matter what other people think of you. It matters what you think of yourself." That's the foundation of true confidence. When you learn to validate yourself, to measure your worth based on your character and actions, not someone else's opinion, you become unshakable. You stop living for applause and start living with purpose. That's a power no one can take away from you. The truth is, seeking external validation is exhausting. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much praise or approval you get, it's never enough. You always need more. The Stoics teach us that this endless craving comes from misunderstanding where happiness truly lies. Happiness doesn't come from being admired or praised. It comes from living a life that aligns with your values. Are you acting with integrity? Are you making decisions that reflect who you are and what you believe in? If the answer is yes, then that's all the validation you need. Number 8. Perfectionism. Have you ever put off starting something because you weren't sure you could do it perfectly? Or maybe you finished a task but couldn't stop obsessing over the tiniest flaws no one else would even notice. Perfectionism can feel like a noble pursuit. After all, who doesn't want to do their best? But in reality, perfectionism isn't about excellence. It's about fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of not being good enough. Instead of helping us succeed, it keeps us paralyzed, overwhelmed, and endlessly dissatisfied. The Stoics understood this deeply. They remind us that striving for perfection is not only unrealistic, it's a recipe for unhappiness. The Stoic philosopher Seneca warned us about the dangers of perfectionism when he said, "While we wait for life, life passes us by." Perfectionism tricks us into believing we need to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect conditions to act. We convince ourselves that if we can't do something flawlessly, it's not worth doing at all. But while we're waiting for perfection, opportunities slip through our fingers and life moves forward without us. The truth is, perfection is an illusion. It's unattainable. And when you chase it, you miss out on the beauty of progress and growth. Think about this. Perfectionism doesn't move you forward. It keeps you stuck. You hesitate to take risks, afraid of getting it wrong. You spend hours or even days reworking something that was already good enough, draining yourself in the process. And when you inevitably fall short of perfection, because we all do, you don't see your effort, progress, or growth. All you see is failure. The Stoics would remind us that this mindset is not only unhealthy, it's unwise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not be ashamed of mistakes and thus make them crimes." In other words, mistakes are part of life. They're opportunities to learn, to grow, and to improve, not something to fear or punish ourselves for. Perfectionism also robs us of joy. Instead of appreciating what we've accomplished, we fixate on what's missing or what could have been better. We overlook our progress and dwell on imperfections, as if anything less than perfect is worthless. But the Stoics teach us that our focus should be on effort, not outcomes. Epictetus said, "The chief task in life is simply this, to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control." You can't control whether something turns out perfectly, but you can control your effort, your attitude, and your willingness to try. That's where true growth lies. So how do we let go of perfectionism? It starts with embracing imperfection as part of being human. The Stoics believed that life is a constant process of growth and learning. No one is perfect, and no one will ever be. But if you show up, do your best, and keep moving forward, you're living in alignment with the principles of Stoicism. You're choosing progress over paralysis. You're choosing to focus on what you can control, your effort, your integrity, and your willingness to learn from mistakes. Letting go of perfectionism doesn't mean settling for mediocrity. It doesn't mean you stop caring or stop striving to improve. It means you recognize that good enough is often exactly what's needed, and that progress matters far more than perfection. It means you give yourself permission to start, even if it's messy, to try, even if you might fail, and to celebrate what you did accomplish, rather than focusing on what you didn't. Number 9. Holding on to unrealistic expectations. How often do we find ourselves frustrated because reality didn't match the version we created in our minds? We expect people to act a certain way, life to unfold according to our plans, and circumstances to always work in our favor. But when things don't go as imagined, disappointment, anger, and resentment creep in. It's like expecting the wind to blow only in the direction we want, completely out of our control. The Stoics would say this frustration isn't caused by life itself, but by our attachment to unrealistic expectations. We suffer not because the world fails us, but because we expect it to conform to our wishes. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies a simple truth. We can't control external events, but we can control how we respond to them. Epictetus once said, "We are disturbed not by things, but by the views we take of them." Think about that. It's not what happens that causes us pain, it's our expectation of what should happen. We expect someone to treat us with kindness, but they don't. We expect success to come easily, but it doesn't. We expect life to be fair, but it rarely is. The result? We feel let down, not because the world is unfair, but because we held on to an illusion of how it should be. Expectations are often invisible burdens we carry. We place them on people, situations, and even ourselves, setting standards that may be impossible to meet. Have you ever thought, "They should have known better"? or "I should have done more." Words like should and must are warning signs that expectations are at play. The Stoics remind us that reality is neither good nor bad, it simply is. It's our expectations that make it feel unfair or disappointing. When we let go of those rigid ideas of how life should be, we free ourselves to accept life as it is. For example, think about your relationships. How often do conflicts arise because we expect someone to behave a certain way? We expect them to know what we want, say the right things, or act in ways that align with our ideals. But people are not extensions of our expectations. They are individuals with their own thoughts, flaws, and decisions. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, our own behavior. Instead of saying, "They should have done this," shift your mindset to, "What can I do in this situation? How can I respond with wisdom and kindness?" That's where your power lies. The same principle applies to life's challenges. We often expect success without setbacks, happiness without hardship, and progress without effort. But the Stoics embraced adversity as a natural part of life. Seneca wrote, "A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not." Unrealistic expectations make us blind to the opportunities hidden in difficulties. When we expect life to be smooth and easy, every obstacle feels like a personal failure. But when we let go of those expectations, we can see challenges for what they truly are: opportunities to learn, grow, and build resilience. Number 10. Fear of change. Change is one of the only constants in life, yet it's something so many of us resist. Why? Because change is uncomfortable. It pushes us into the unknown, away from what's familiar and predictable. Whether it's a new job, the end of a relationship, moving to a different city, or simply a shift in routine, change can feel like stepping into darkness without a flashlight. And so, we cling to what we know, even when it no longer serves us. But the Stoics would remind us that resisting change doesn't stop it. It only creates suffering. Life moves forward, whether we like it or not, and our job is to learn how to move with it, not against it. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accustom yourself to consider that the nature of the universe loves nothing so much as to change the things which are, and to make new things like them." In other words, change is not your enemy. It's the very fabric of existence. Nature itself thrives on change. The seasons shift, rivers flow, and trees shed their leaves only to bloom again. Life, like nature, is fluid. To fight against change is to fight against life itself. The Stoics understood this deeply and embraced change as a natural and necessary part of growth. The fear of change comes from our attachment to the familiar. We convince ourselves that where we are or how things are is good enough, even when we're dissatisfied or stagnant. Why? Because the unknown feels risky. What if things get worse? What if I fail? These questions, rooted in fear, trap us in situations that no longer align with our values, goals, or growth. Epictetus teaches us to reflect on what is within our control. We cannot control what changes life will bring, but we can control how we respond to them. Instead of fearing change, the Stoics encourage us to approach it with curiosity, courage, and acceptance. Think about it this way: every meaningful thing in your life came from change. Your closest friendships, your proudest achievements, and your most significant moments of growth likely happened because something changed. Because you took a risk, stepped into the unknown, or let go of what was no longer serving you. Change forces us to adapt, to rethink, to grow into something stronger and wiser than before. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully when he said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." The challenges that come with change are not obstacles, they are the path forward. Fear of change also traps us in regret. How many opportunities have you let pass by because you were afraid to step into something new? Whether it's pursuing a dream, ending a toxic relationship, or starting a healthier lifestyle, the fear of change keeps you rooted in place while life moves forward. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control in this moment. You can't predict the future, but you can take action right now, and by doing so, you break free from fear's grip and take back control of your life. Number 11. The harmful effects of gossiping. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling uneasy, like you've chipped away at your own integrity without even realizing it? Maybe you were part of a discussion that drifted into gossip, talking about someone else's personal life, their mistakes, or spreading information that wasn't yours to share. At the time, it might have felt harmless, even entertaining, but afterward, you can't shake that subtle sense of guilt. That's because gossip doesn't just harm the person being talked about, it harms you as well. The Stoics understood this truth. The words you speak reflect the quality of your character, and when you engage in gossip, you're not just tearing others down, you're also undermining your own moral foundation. The Stoics valued self-discipline, and that extends to how we use our words. Words are powerful. Once spoken, they can't be taken back, and their impact can ripple far beyond what you intended. Seneca reminds us, "Speech reflects the soul. As a man speaks, so is he." What you say about others says far more about you than it does about them. When you gossip, it reflects a lack of control, a willingness to judge, and a focus on others' flaws instead of your own growth. The time and energy spent tearing someone else down could be used to improve yourself, to strengthen your character, and to pursue something meaningful. Gossip also feeds into negativity and pettiness. It's easy to fall into this trap. It often starts with curiosity or a small comment, but once it begins, gossip spreads like wildfire. Before you know it, a single rumor turns into a distorted version of the truth, causing unnecessary pain, misunderstandings, and conflict. The Stoics taught us to avoid actions that lead to harm, not just for others but for ourselves. Engaging in gossip disrupts your peace of mind. It creates a sense of chaos and distraction, pulling you away from your purpose and your ability to act with integrity. But why do we gossip in the first place? Sometimes it's a way to feel included, to bond with others through shared opinions or judgments. Other times, it's a result of insecurity. We focus on someone else's flaws to distract ourselves from our own. But the Stoics would urge us to look inward, to confront the real reason we feel the need to speak negatively about others. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." If you see someone acting poorly, don't let that influence your own behavior. Instead of joining the cycle of negativity, choose to rise above it. Focus on your own values and the example you want to set. So how do you step away from gossip? It starts with awareness. The next time you're in a conversation that begins to turn negative, pause and ask yourself, is this true? Is this kind? Is this necessary? If the answer is no, then it's not worth saying. Practicing this discipline doesn't just benefit others, it benefits you. You'll walk away from conversations with your integrity intact, knowing you chose to act with wisdom and kindness. The more you practice this restraint, the easier it becomes. You'll find that you no longer feel the need to fill silences with idle chatter or judgments. Instead, you'll cultivate an environment of trust, respect, and positivity. When you refuse to engage in gossip, you also become someone others can trust. You build a reputation for integrity, a reputation that is far more valuable than fleeting approval or entertainment. People will know that when they share something with you, it stays with you. They'll see you as someone who speaks with intention, who uses words to uplift rather than tear down. The Stoics remind us that our actions, no matter how small, shape who we are. By choosing not to gossip, you're choosing to build a life of virtue, self-discipline, and trustworthiness. At the end of the day, the life you want to build, the one filled with clarity, purpose, and peace, begins with the quiet decisions you make. By letting go of what doesn't serve you, you make room for what truly matters. Remember, you are not defined by the noise around you, but by the strength you cultivate within. Thank you for being a part of Stoic Journal. If you found value in today's video, I invite you to watch the next one suggested on your screen. It's another step on this journey of wisdom and growth. I appreciate you being here. Let's continue this path together. Take care, and I'll see you soon.